are the expected outcome when you wanted to conduct constructivist teaching and learning? As a lecturer, you need to be able to provide learning ecosystem that emancipate inquiry. So what does that mean? So when we talk about emancipations, it means that the process of the inquiry must be set free from the predetermined sequence of conducting inquiry process. You must allow naturally students to experience the constructive learning. Second, you need to be able to provide clear change of inquiry to the learners. This will depend highly on how you design your teaching and learning. Third, to design a learning, it must center to the learner's ideas and to publicize their ideas. Last, lecturers must be able to promote conceptual change through dialogue. Because according to the literatures, when you conduct constructivism, communications is the most prominent tools in order to help with the constructivist learning environment. On the other hand, as a lecturer, what should be your expected outcomes from your student if you conduct constructivist teaching and learning? The student should be able to understand their roles in constructivist environment. In a simple word, they need to understand why they have to provide justification for every ideas or every reflection. Why they need to come up with a different sorts of analysis when people disagree with their ideas. So they need to learn to understand their roles in the teaching and learning process. Second, students need to learn to feel comfortable to publicize their ideas to the large audience. It can be quite tricky if your society is a very much collective. So, publicizing ideas can be quite challenging. But if the students are able to go out and talk about ideas or even their feelings, meaning that you might probably are successful in creating the constructivist learning environments. Last, you need to ensure that your students realize their responsibility to monitor their own understanding, because in constructivist environments, students need to take charge on their learning. Therefore, two main processes that usually associated in a constructivist class is conceptual change and scaffolding. So, this is where your focus should be when conducting a constructivist class. When we talk about conceptual change, it involves assimilations and accommodation. Assimilation refers to the process of taking new information and fitting it into an existing schema. On the other hand, accommodation is slightly different, in which it refers to the using newly acquired information to revise and redevelop an existing schema. Therefore, when you wanted to go for conceptual change, you need to understand on which direction your student might be comfortable with, whether it is assimilation or you can go toward to the extent of accommodations. During the process, you also need to scaffold students. So the role of lecturers and others in supporting student developments and providing support structures so that the student can get to the next stage or levels of the inquiry. Scaffolds usually come from the prompt made by the teachers and also sometimes come from the feedbacks that they receive from their peers. You already know what are the outcomes. for lecturers and students. And you also have known about the expected process that need to be there for you to claim that your teaching and learning happen in a constructivist way, which are scaffoldings and conceptual change. So now, what should be your attitude towards the whole process? As a lecturer, we are not supposed to judge student ideas. We should not say yes and no. Our job is to facilitate. What does it mean? When we talk about facilitations, we need to ensure that student ideas is being heard to the whole class. You need to provide a space for them to feel comfortable to share their ideas, regardless if it is wrong. Third, you need to be able to provide prompts that can be used to help with navigating student self-regulations. These prompts must be designed properly, and it usually depends on your style of questioning. Last, student ideas must be used to drive learning for the whole class. So now, why don't we look at students? In this class, students should be able to communicate their opinions, although it is not correct. So they need to have this kind of understanding when they behave and think in your classrooms. They also need to learn on how to take into account other people's opinions and compare with their own. These are the process where require your prompts to assist the comparisons of ideas in their perspective. Third, which is to identify the similarities and differences between the ideas. And this is again where your prompt should come to actually trigger what we call as a cognitive dissonance, which is to create a conflict on finding the differences and the similarities between the ideas. And fourth, they need to revisit their own understanding by making references to others. As they are making this revisitation towards their own prior understanding, they need to gather all the resources to create those new ideas. And last, students should be able to integrate new ideas into initial understanding and build. These types of thinking which you expect to happen among students must be guided properly based on your prompts and your positions as a facilitator.